you're here. And if you can stop sharing, Bruce, I'll get everybody on gallery and I can see all the faces of the people that are coming. Wonderful. Wow, wow. What a gathering we have here. Hi, so I'm Mark Batchelder. I am the co-president of the Foundation and Restoration, along with and my hosts on this call are Julie Deaver and Marcus Cooper. And so we got a very special guest today and a really full agenda. And I think a lot of you have heard about this already, and that's why you're showing up. So we're thrilled to have you. If you aren't in regular contact with us and would like to be, we would love to have you put your name over in the chat bar on the right-hand side. Give your name and your contact info. And I'd love to, if you could put in a word to like how you heard about this, what brought you here, like Chris and Dick, Goldie. Maybe you've been here before, but I don't recognize you. We'd love to know, how did you hear about this? So we hold these meetings every week, and our intention for each of these community calls is that each and every call sparks for each and every one of us new thinking, new enthusiasm, and new openings for shifting the global mindset. And I want to introduce my co-host, Julia Dieter. Julia, do you want me to continue with the mission and vision here?
I'll do that. It's up to you. Yep.
You're navigating.
You go ahead with it. I'm almost home. Almost home.
So we have, so our vision is the climate restored by 2050. And then our mission is to generate this global alignment for global restoration by 2030. Such that climate restoration shows up on the global agenda. And what we mean by climate restoration, we mean restoring the climate to one that humans have evolved and thrived in, with CO2 levels below 300 parts per million. That's the mission and the vision of the Foundation for Climate Restoration. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Marcus Cooper, who's my co-host on this call, and will be the kind of the interviewer or our MC with our special guest. Marcus has got a lot of experience in a lot of areas, and we were looking forward to him and our special guest, Bruce Melton, who will be presenting his a lot of his work, from the work that he's done tirelessly for years. So, Marcus? And you can start off by maybe telling people a little bit about our results just last week at the EarthX conference in Dallas.
Last week, the Foundation for Climate Restoration, in partnership with a couple of other organizations, they took the lead in organizing a 3-day conference in Dallas at the EarthX conference. I'm sorry, we had one day. It was a 3-day conference in Dallas. It's at the biggest hotel I've ever been in. And the Foundation for Climate Restoration showed up and they showed out. We had tons of conversations. We had an almost full room, almost the entire day, which nobody else had, including some of the main stages. We were more well attended than the FIFA presentation, the presentation by the Prime Minister of Tonga, more well attended. And that's because of the efforts of Mark and Julia and the rest of the Foundation for Climate Restoration, including the members that weren't there. I had the pleasure of meeting Bruce Melton there. And Bruce is a professional civil engineer, an environmental researcher, an author, a filmmaker, a musician, a climate science education specialist, director of the Climate Change Now initiative, which was founded in 2005. He's written over 600 articles reviewing and interpreting the latest critical climate science, and he played a crucial role convincing the Sierra Club to lower their warming target from 1.5 degrees Celsius to a restoration target of less than 1 degree Celsius or 0, if possible, which is back within the historic natural variation of our climate. His award-winning film, Climate Change Across America, documented the effects of warming across 150,000 miles of North America, from South Padre Island out in Texas to the North Slope of Alaska, from sea to shining sea. He's committed to having restoration of the climate by mid-century be recognized as the essential and missing element in the global movement to take having a world that works for the thriving of all people and all the living systems of the earth that we rely on for the flourishing of life. I introduce you to Bruce Melton. Take it away, Bruce.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I gave this presentation, a bunch of it, at EarthX. I'm been doing this for longer than anybody alive, sort of. The oldest independent climate science education organization in the world. The Climate Institute is quite a bit older, but they stopped filing their IRS Form 990 for charities 3 years ago. So that actually leaves me as the oldest. Peter asked me to join his Healthy Climate Alliance list. 2013, he asked me to be the first person on his list that grew to, I believe, over 1,000 people, because he was looking across the internet for people who were working on climate restoration. I was the only one he found. What I was asked to do was explain how and why I was able to convince Sierra Club to lower their warming target from 1.5 degrees C that everybody has down to 1 degree C or less, creating the first climate restoration policy of its kind. And in 2019, there was a task force. We were asked to address climate resilience, carbon dioxide removal, and geoengineering, and it actually ended up being a lot more than that. And I'll get to that in a minute, but first, we got to talk about the why. Why did it end up being did we end up doing something more than what we were asked to do? Well, it's basically resilience. If you have Earth systems that are collapsing, that's climate tipping, and they don't stop collapsing unless you remove the thing that started the collapse in the first place. So that is restoration. Even if we halted all warming today, our Earth systems that are currently in degradation would eventually collapse. Most of the tipping literature says that most of the Earth systems that are now classified as being having their tipping activated, or that their degradation has begun. The Amazon, permafrost, boreal forest, Arctic sea ice, ice sheets. These things don't stop unless you remove the things that started the degradation to begin with. So I like to do two things at once in my presentations, and what I've got going on here is just some of these things that have happened to our culture and our world recently. The LA fires, you guys are all real familiar with this, at least everybody out of California. What was it? 16,400 homes were burned in 3 days. This previous slide was in 2018, the Camp Fire. 14,000 homes were burned in 6 hours. These are not normal. We've had huge fires that have burned over 1,000 homes in the past until the current era that started about 2015 to 2017. But nothing like what's going on today. So the reasons why Sierra Club adopted this climate restoration target are our Earth systems are in degradation. And who better to send up the alarm that we need to conserve and preserve our world because it's collapsing. So here, this is I want to just run through a bunch of stuff that most people don't know is happening, or if they do, it's confused in the media with our old climate. And, one of the biggest biases of our climate culture is that, well, this stuff has all happened in the past, right? Well, yeah, but, the last time some of it happened, was when or most of it happened was when we were warming out of the last ice age 10,000 years ago. So extremely, extremely rare, far more rare than the 100-year storm. And it doesn't go away like the 100-year storm does. It stays here unless we restore our climate back to within the evolutionary boundaries of our Earth systems. This slide, I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel to Big Bend for a long time now. In '86, I was fresh out of college and shooting high resolution film. That's where I got my start in all this imagery I'm doing with warming effects. And in 2016, we were there during a bad air quality time. Big Bend is one of the most remote and pristine areas in North America, south of the Great North. And its air quality used to reflect that. Beginning in the 90s, Mexico built numerous power plants that created air pollution in the Bend, but only about 40% of what you're seeing there on the left in 2016. The rest of it comes from the southeast U.S., Texas, and the West Coast. It all contributes. Big Bend is a giant bowl, and when a dirty air mass gets trapped there, it can hang around. So it gets compounded too by heating and things that the desert or really high temperature does to air quality that enhances smog that we know as air pollution. Let's see. So did I skip one? No. Just running through a bunch of stuff that's happened that's not normal. This is the killer floods, July 4th and 5th in Central Texas. I usually don't shoot the built environment effects to the built environment, but this is on our doorstep. This is Kerrville, where those poor girls died. Over 100 people died in Kerrville. 28 or something like that died on Cow Creek and Sandy Creek, just northwest of Austin. Two big bullseyes. 2,500 year storm in Kerrville, 3,500 year storm in Cow Creek and Sandy Creek. Just immense rainstorms. And this is one of the things that you've all heard, that rainfall is increasing. I'm a hydrologist. I pay for my nonprofit mostly with engineering. I do land development, the critical environmental issues with land development, and over the last 6 or 7 years, all of my normal land development clients abandoned me because they're generally quite conservative, and they learned how to Google stalk people. So when they found out what I was doing, they hit the low road, excuse me. And then I rebranded to do residential flooding, which I've been helping homeowners who cannot afford engineering. I only charge about half rate to solve their flooding problems, which are more numerous. The big deal now is that it's raining so much. 6 inches an hour. It's raining. The intensity is so hard that people are having sheet flow come across their backyards or their front yards and pile up against the house. Sheet flow 1 inch or 2 thick coming down the hill, covering everything. It's raining so hard. It's like the Great Spirit dumped a giant bucket out on the top of the hill, and it comes down in a little tiny tidal wave, and it backs up against a house, and it floods carpets, wood floors, anything that's on the floors. Flooding is flooding. It creates massive damage. So I've been doing that to help out. This was a different story. This was a geologically significant flood. By that I mean, do you see all the bare dirt around here? The flows were so high, it created a flood that was a little bit higher than a 100-year flood. But the rainstorms were 2,500 and 3,500 year events. The flow was so energetic, it stripped all of the vegetation from the flow path. What that does is it dramatically reduces friction. It allows a lot more water to flow in the same elevation. So you can have these geologically significant floods where it wipes out all the trees. You can have a flood that's far more rare than a 100-year storm, but the flood elevation is not a whole lot different. What you're looking at here, this is a giant cypress that rivals giant sequoias. And the way you can tell from this photo, see this? This is a handrail up here, a handrail to somebody's deck. That's how big this cypress is. It's probably a 7-footer, maybe 8, probably not 6. Big tree. It was ripped out of its bank, of course, along with all of this vegetation in the background, all trees. What you're seeing, the green back here, that is the actual river. What happened is this is a big oxbow. And the river, the flood was so big, it jumped out of the banks and cut straight across the oxbow. In the meantime, scouring all the vegetation and leaving all the ancient cypress on the original riverbanks, Guadalupe River, leaving them intact. So geologically significant floods do things that aren't normal. They get out of their banks, they flood, they rip all the vegetation off and create a much more rare flood with a similar elevation to what we know as the 100-year flood. We do a lot of work on the coast. This is some early work. I've lived on the Texas coast all my life. This is what it looks like today. This is what it was back in 89. There used to be well over 100 yards of beach. See there? 89. This is right after me and my wife got married. Look how big the beach is here. That's the point of these. And now, so here I got to start it again. So now we're seeing 50 to 60 times a year, we're getting water into the dunes like this. And the king tides have...
Share screen again.
Oh.
Yep.
There. Right there. Right there. Share screen. We want to slideshow from current slide. Okay, about there. These are Dunebergs. See how this angle? I think there's another picture over here in a minute. No, there's not. See this angle? These common angles. See right down. You'll get there. See right here? That's a big old block of sand that's sliding down. It's called the angle of repose. The sand is very regular on most beaches. Here's another one that's falling down. Dunebergs. This is, the surf comes up and erodes the bottom of the dune. Then you got this big old block of sand that comes down. Right here, this black sand beach. Texas doesn't have any black sand beaches. This beach also has no dunes. They've been washed away. The black sand is magnetite. It's iron crystals that are magnetic, and they're very heavy. And when see, here's a dune that's had Dunebergs running off of it. One of the few left in this stretch of beach. The magnetite gets left behind when all the sand is washed out into the Gulf of Mexico. So let's see. Crazy stuff happening down there. Oh, and by the way, it's aliens. Don't let anybody fool you. Aliens are the ones who have caused climate change.
Is that the aliens coming over the border?
Nope. These are little green guys.
Well, I see. There's the proof.
There's the proof.
Dang.
Okay. Crazy things happen with climate change. In Texas, in Austin, Central Texas, the last 30 years, National Weather Service averages show that rainfall has increased 15%. But one of those very first images showed a pier out into Lake Buchanan of the Highland Lakes that water was gone. You couldn't see water anywhere. We have had sustained drought with lake levels approaching all-time levels since climate change really started to get out of hand in the 2000s. And it's because of heat. This is Powell, by the way, and it's easy to see how low it is. It's about not quite half again as low now as it was. This picture was 2018, I think. And when it was about 55%, I think it's a little less than 40% now. Got another slide on that here, right here. It's a heat drought. A little bit of warming creates a lot more evaporation, evapotranspiration, and soil evaporation. And so what's going on is it's so much warmer, even just a little bit warmer, creates a lot more evaporation. And what this graph is, the red line is the water use from the Colorado River Basin. And the blue line is the supply. And you see how the supplies continue to go down with the exception of the mid 80s. And what happened here with the red line, why is the water use line, why did it go down? Well, around the turn of the century, when Powell and Meade started to get really low and people started to get really worried about them, we had a whole bunch of water conservation rules go into effect. Even with an increased population today, we are using less water in the Colorado River Basin, all throughout California, Arizona, Nevada, because of conservation. Yet the lakes still continue to fall because of heat drought, not a precipitation drought, although precipitation drought does contribute. By far, it's the heat drought that is causing all of the significant warming effects that we see, but from heat. Now, this is
Hey, Bruce, I want to take just a minute, a pause here, and give people a chance to make a choice. We've actually reached the end of our scheduled meeting time, and we're just getting to the best part of the presentation. Julia, Marcus?
Yeah, go. And
we are recording this.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, you guys who came, I'm glad you got to see, and have to leave. I'm glad you got to see a little bit of it.
Right.
Sorry again for the confusion. Oh, it would have been so cool with a band, and I had a lot more film clips. But here we go.
How much longer?
I'm about 2/3 through. 15 minutes. Saguaros. This saguaro has been frostbit. Good saguaro, bad saguaro. Frostbite happens. We've got in the desert, especially. We've got a lot of plants that have acclimatized to the warmer temperatures, and along comes a polar vortex, and we get normal cold or even record cold at times, and it just freezes the tar out of things. Saguaros are vascular. They're not like trees where all of their sap goes up and down the cambium layer on the outside right underneath the bark. So these guys, they can sustain a lot of damage. All of these holes in these saguaros are frostbite necrosis, where the cold has literally, I don't know, you've probably seen people get frostbite on their cheeks, and they maybe not seen it, but heard about it. And the skin rots, and you get this big old scab, and eventually it goes away. That's what happens to these saguaros. It happened, this is down in the Saguaro National Monument, not in the national parks around Tucson. The National Monument is between Tucson and Phoenix. It's about 1,000 feet lower. Up higher in the National Monument, where this picture on the top left is, the saguaros were able to acclimatize. Down in the basin, not so. Polar vortex comes along, frostbite. Normally it doesn't kill, but it does kill. This is in the Chihuahuan Desert in Big Bend. It does kill things like these lechuguilla here and these ocotillos. The ocotillos are in both Chihuahuan and Sonoran. They were killed by a bark beetle, a flathead borer. And this is pretty widespread. You can see lots of dead ocotillo laying on the ground. Pretty widespread. One of these things that hasn't really hit the science yet. But whenever I talk to a park ranger biologist in the park, it's like, yeah, do you know what's going on? No, I don't know what's going on. I do know it's a bark beetle, and it's very, very likely, because nobody has ever seen it before in this quantity, it's because of stress. Plants in the desert are under the same evolutionary boundaries as plants and animals in any other ecology. Exceed those boundaries, the plants are stressed. They will eventually go away and be replaced by species and mechanisms that are tolerant of the new conditions. These are nice, healthy ocotillos. Just like to give a break every once in a while from the bad news. Steamboat Springs, Colorado, beetle kill. This is Jasper National Park in British Columbia. The point of no return is when an ecology is so degraded that there's not enough of it remaining to repopulate, regenerate. That's what we're up against. That's what tipping is. There's big controversy about tipping. Tipping has started, but it doesn't complete and become irreversible until about mid-century for those tipping systems that are now already degraded. And it's once we get all of these, well, actually, once the system begins to degrade, it starts to emit. The Amazon is emitting a gigaton of carbon dioxide equivalents a year now. Permafrost is emitting 2.3 gigatons a year. There are many others. It's quite likely that all tropical forests have now flipped from storing to emissions because of the same warming stress that's happening in the Amazon. This is Rocky Mountain National Park. This is one of my first discoveries. This is when I realized that I wanted to film. This is 2007 or 2008. This is 2015, and I don't have a picture of 2 or 3 years ago. Fire ran through here and destroyed my anecdotal observation. You can see the trees are growing. Young trees are more vigorous than mature trees. So they, at this time, weren't attacked. You know, when they're little bitty guys, they weren't attacked. But you can see, whoops, sorry. Come on, one more. You can see there are some small trees growing up here, and some aspen coming up. Aspen are probably going to benefit from the loss of the conifer cover, which is a mature climax forest. Let's see what we got. It's really quite beautiful. But the entire western side of the park was wiped out. Again, natural, human caused it, but natural happens every time our climate changes abruptly. Last time was 10,000 years ago. This is what we're trying to prevent happening across the world. It's already happened to well over 100 million acres in North America. We got a lot more 100 million acres to go, so we're trying to preserve as much as we can so that when we restore our climate, we'll have forests that will be able to regenerate. That's the challenge. If we don't restore in time, not enough of the ecology will remain so that it can regrow. Mm. Here's the little guys who did it. These little guys, grain of rice size. This is a domino. And there's lots of different kinds of bugs in here caught in this bug trap you see up here in the right-hand corner. This is what it looks like. And this is not a trap to prevent mortality. This is simply to count the beetles. You can prevent mortality using pheromones. Beetles emit 2 pheromones, one to attract mates and other beetles because they have to swarm a tree and girdle it for their broods to be successful. The other one is to tell new beetles coming into a tree that's already occupied, we got plenty of beetles. Go to another tree. Up to 10,000 beetles per tree can attack in mass. They've got to do that so that their galleries, where all their little larvae are eating the cambium layer out from underneath the bark, they've got to kill the tree so that the sap of the tree won't drown the beetles. That's the big deal with how it kills them so quickly. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, there we go. This is Wolf Creek Pass, southern Colorado, a spruce beetle outbreak. Just another outbreak. These things are dominate the landscape above 10,000 feet wherever you are, simply because above 10,000 feet is where our forest ecology is on the edge. Push it a little bit more, and what happens? It tries to go away so that something tolerant of the new conditions can take its place and re-evolve the system. This is an excellent example. Mesa Verde, turn of the century, fires ran through there and burned almost all of the top of the mesas. Now, Mesa Verde is cut by lots of really steep canyons with all these alcoves and limestone where all the cliff dwellings are. Up on top, though, it was a ash juniper woodland, up to 1,000 years old, and which tells you the last time that it burned off, maybe not even then. Warming burned it off in combination with right before all these fires, there was a pinyon pine beetle outbreak that killed 90% of the pinyon pines across the four corners. So we had a lot of dead trees and super dry conditions, and we had fires like have never before been seen. Cal Fire is saying that fires are now burning 400 degrees hotter because of warming and drying. It's a big deal. So not regenerating at all in Mesa Verde. 30% of forest are not regenerating in Western North America are not regenerating after fire, and only half of the remaining forest are regenerating, but only at half of the 20th century rate. It's really, really affected. It's just too warm for the young trees to grow. And so we've got chaos. We've got other species trying to take over, but nothing's going to evolve until we stop the temperature change. Until then, it's just going to be chaos. This is really interesting. This is Yosemite. This is the beetle kill in Yosemite. Major beetle kill. This is also another little break for the mind. See right here? No, you can't see it. You can't see it at all because it's not visible. It's right there. See it now?
Mm-hmm.
It's El Capitan. Those are climbers on El Capitan.
Right.
Isn't that amazing? Half Dome. These are ponderosas killed by the mountain pine beetle. You can see over here is a bunch of dead trees. Down and through here, there's dead trees. It's really hard to see them at a distance because dead trees kind of just look like a forest, Trees always die in the forest, but they're dying at many times the natural rate now. Here's Half Dome. I can't remember the name of these two falls. Incredible place. This is a piece that I did for Truth Out. Just incredible what's happening. I did not take this fire thanks to Sue Cagg and I Love Trees that has done so much to document from a layman's perspective the fires that killed 14,000 sequoias out of 75,000. It's 18% of mature sequoias were killed by the fires, mostly in 2020 and 2021. In the past 5,000 years, only several hundred sequoias have died. Those mostly died because they fell over. These things have bark that's over 2 feet thick. They're so massive. Their needles are above the rest of the forest and above the rest of fire in a normal forest fire. And they have water-soluble sap instead of terpene-based sap that's extremely flammable. So these guys just don't burn. And they are also impermeable, almost impermeable, to insects and disease. Now we're having, because they are so stressed now, they're getting killed by bark beetles. And, we get this extraordinary fires, 400 degrees hotter, only partially caused by excess fuels. All the science is now saying there's 6 reasons why our fires are so much more extreme now, and only one reason is that there's excess fuels. It's really, really a different world. Prescribed burning, very, very risky. The two biggest fires in New Mexico history happened in 2022. Both were caused by prescribed burns. It's a different world. Old rules don't apply anymore. We spent $3.1 billion fighting fires in 2022. But in 2022, the fires in California were approximately equal to the area burned in pre-European times, even though we spent $3.1 billion fighting them. Just amazing what's going on. This really tells the story. The fires since 2020. This does not include a 450,000 acre fire in 2024. This is a 450,000 acre fire right there. I mean, just look at the size of the fires. And this was in 2024. This was just 4 years of fires here in 2020. And look at the size of the fires and the number of fires. Really, really a different world. This is the foothills. This is just oak woodland. Trees just can't take the drought, can't take the heat that's causing the excess moisture loss, and trees just, they're beyond their evolutionary boundaries. This permafrost thaw in Alaska, it's when we were there in 2009, we had to go, I mentioned this earlier, we had to go to University of Fairbanks to ask the ice scientists, the climate scientists there, where to find it. I said, it's right here in the city limits. And sure enough, they pointed to us. It just wasn't widespread. It's widespread now. It's not everywhere, but it is widespread. We had no problem finding it. It lines the roads. And it's good for some things. Moose love water. Ducks love water. But, it loses carbon stored for millennia already, or is losing it right now. And, the risk is lots more is going to come in the very near future. Let's see what we got going on here. There's Denali. Okay, this is Arctic greening. See those bushes on the side of the road? I was asking our tour guide about it. He'd been doing this tour. By the way, if y'all ever get the chance, do the bus tour in Denali. It's incredible. He said that in the last 6 or 7 years, the shrubs in the tundra country has started growing up. It's called Arctic greening. It changes the albedo. When you get plants growing up above snow cover, they're going to absorb like 90% of the sun's energy, turn it into heat, whereas snow is going to reflect 90% of the sun's energy back into space. So Arctic greening is meaningful not only for the local environment, but because there's so much in the Arctic, so much greening happening, it really translates into big trouble for our global climate. This is a quadruplet of burned giants. See over here on the left side, one of them has fallen. Just, big deal. These guys weren't burning in our old climate, hardly dying. The oldest estimated 3,500 years. It's pretty difficult to estimate their age when they get that old. The black of a fire is always amazing, but the size of these trees, it is just really difficult. See all the little tiny sticks? Those are normal sized trees. These are probably 15, 18 footers. It's just, beyond imagining. I'm so lucky to be able to do this, to have the skills, to be able to designate the time to record all these things. It's just people need to see it, and trying to get it out there. And thanks to Peter and all you folks, we're getting there. Hopefully this giant will live. When they get scorched like that, they got about a 50% chance. That little house down there, gosh, I don't know why they rebuilt. These trees weigh thousands of tons. They're incredibly large. So, just real quickly, this is the end of my presentation. How I convinced Sierra Club. First, you gotta earn respect. You got to earn trust. I ran for elected office in Sierra Club for the first time in 2010, Austin local group. After I asked the director of the Lone Star chapter, the most important chapter, Sierra Club. Don't tell California, okay? I asked the director how to introduce Sierra Club to what I've been finding in the literature. And, we went all through, told her the whole story. And she says, well, you got to run for office, join elected leadership, and then earn people's trust and show them what you found. So that's what I did. And in 2014, I ran for the Lone Star Executive Committee and started over at the chapter level in Texas. All of Texas, we've got 7 groups instead of having multiple chapters in one chapter. I was constantly writing these people's stuff, and I was participating in the Sierra Club global warming list and the climate emergency list and the climate adaptation list. Participating in these lists, revealing to folks the science that I had discovered, that I had read, that was different from what popular press, what Sierra Club culture, Sierra Club policy was saying. Then along comes the opportunity to get on a policy committee. I applied because I had introduced myself to people all over the club, and they saw that I wasn't just spouting, that I was repeating academic literature and interpreting it appropriately. They invited me to be on the policy committee. Then comes the hard work of policy creation, which is the same everywhere. If you want your ideas to get into policy, you've got to be nice. You've got to compromise. Jimenez principles. Listen to other people. Don't dominate the mic. You've got to be fair. You've got to do things on the committee like you did in your workup to getting on the policy committee. You got to do stuff that other people don't want to do. Get on committees that people don't want to be on. Show them, earn their trust and respect so that they'll listen to you. Let's see. Once you get on the committee, volunteer to write content. Then everybody comments on it, and then everybody goes through each comment individually and discusses the comments. Often one word is all it takes to get everybody to say, oh, okay, now I like that sentence. Now I like that paragraph. Whereas before, that one word made a big difference. It's fairly easy once you get these concepts down, but you've got to earn it. And a lot of us have already put together a lot of the creds where we can do this with other organizations. It's just, I started from scratch with Sierra Club, and I think that's my presentation. I get ahead of myself sometimes. So here's the campfire. It's time for questions.
Alrighty. So we're very much over time, but I do want to allow people to, if they have questions, please put your questions in the chat, the ones that haven't been answered. I see Carol is in the chat answering questions as fast as they're thrown at her. But if anyone has anything directly for Bruce, now is the time. I do want to say, while people are typing, Bruce, I have a question.
Yes.
You spoke about increased, I think it's called water stress in plants. And can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I fancy myself a gardener, but it wasn't until your presentation last week that I considered that trees could still end up drying out even with increased rainfall. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I got one quick anecdote.
Okay.
We had a big fire here in Oak Hill in Austin, the big fire year of 2011. We had fires all around. Thousands of homes were burned. There were 11 homes burned in my neighborhood. UT did a survey of this fire. It wasn't very big. It was only 100 acres, but it burned a lot of homes. They did a survey of the fuels and after the fire, and what they found was that the live fuel moisture was almost identical to the dead fuel moisture. Now that told me, when I heard that was possible, before I didn't know that was even possible. It is possible. If the tree goes on for any amount of time with moisture levels that low, the tree's probably not going to survive. And we had a lot of forest mortality in 2011, 2012, 2013. We set new drought of record in Central Texas. So that's the anecdote that got me to thinking, or got me to understanding what is now being called heat drought in the literature. It's just very recently, the last several years is when this has come about. But it's evaporation increases non-linearly with warming. A little bit of warming doesn't create a little bit more evaporation. It creates a lot more. So you get evaporation from soils, water body, and plants is all increased with a little bit of warming.
Well, thank you for that. And next question, what's happening in the eastern United States?
Can we take down the slide? The fire. It's very warming, but
if you like, it's my Sierra Club slide.
Okay, so what's happening in the eastern U.S.?
We started filming last 2 years. We've done 3 trips to the Northeast, 20,000 miles. We've got, and what we found was very significant forest mortality. Some places approaching as bad as it is in the West. It's from insects and disease, from sea level rise, saltwater poisoning. And the crazy thing is in the East, it's almost completely non-native insects and disease. Whereas in the West, it's almost completely native insects and disease. Now, trees don't care if it's a native or a non-native. Most of these non-natives also have been in the United States, in the Northeast specifically, for generations, human generations. And it's just recently that they are increasing. We've lost tree species or almost lost tree species before. Chestnuts, Dutch elm disease. We've still got a lot of elms, but Dutch elm disease was horrendous on the elm forest. The chestnuts, they're virtually gone. They're still resprouting from the roots, but they get 6-7 years old, and the chestnut blight takes them out. It only takes out the above ground stuff. Roots are still living. We're hoping science is still working on it. They're still trying to figure out how we can get our chestnuts back. There's Arctic greening going on at the highest peaks in New England. There's the drought. Last fall, the drought was so bad, the rivers looked like Texas rivers. You could lay down in them and hardly get wet. Heat, it was, we were in upstate New York, it was 90 degrees in late September, which was just, setting records. And we're setting records left and right, especially since we've had the acceleration of warming in the last 5 or 6 years. Let's see what else is going on up there. Sea level rise. We spent some quality time at the Outer Banks in Buxton, shooting all those beach houses that are now out in the surf. There were 50 that were taken out up until from 1970 to 2020. And since 2020, 27 have gone down. And last fall, 16 of those 27 went down. So it's accelerating non-linearly. And accelerates a lot worse the further we get, because we're about at the top of the beach ramp now with sea level rise. What the beach ramp is a very steep section of land right at the junction with water. And once you get to the top of the beach ramp in low slope areas, like a lot of slope on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, the slope is far, far less. So every increment of sea level rise, once you get above the beach ramp, goes an orders of magnitude further inland. So we're just about to see erosion damage from sea level rise ramp up very significantly. There's lots of other things going on, but the insects and the dead trees. The dead trees are enough to where people, civilians, are noticing them. We spend a lot of time camping and talking to folks, and when we tell them what we're doing, almost invariably they'll ask what's going on with these dead trees. The boggy areas in the northern tier of New England, there's extraordinary forest mortality going on there from swings from what's it called? Whiplash. They're going from ultra dry to ultra wet, and when you do that, you burn off root hairs. You may kill trees, or you just damage them, and then you get ultra wet. We saw this happen in 2015 in Texas. We lost several million white oaks after the big drought of record, because they had accumulated damage to their roots, getting burned off because it's so dry, and then we had 2 50-inch years or 45-inch years in a row where the soil stayed really wet for a while, and the white oaks just all died from fungus. So that's something that's going on in the boggy areas in New England.
All over the place. Okay.
It's everywhere.
All righty. And then how does the Sierra Club policy, what difference does it make in terms of the day-to-day for the Sierra Club or for other organizations who, I guess, take direction from the Sierra Club? Have you seen any direct results?
That's a sad story. The club is not yet openly supporting a restoration target. It took me 2 years, 2 years to get them to stop mentioning 1.5C.
Mm-hmm.
The reasoning, and I've been working on this ever since, trying to, every time I get the opportunity, I'll write somebody and say, why aren't we actively supporting our restoration policy? And they never write me back. After I finally, somehow, I need to go back and recreate this. After 2 years of 1.5C, I finally did get some upper level staff to call me back en masse and grill me. And, when I said, dudes, it's our policies. Haven't you don't you know about our new policies? They're 2 years old now. So that's a sad story. I'm still working on it. And, the good news is it's like Peter and me were telling people from the very beginning, you can't change anything until you change the mission. Once you change the mission, then everything else makes sense. But if we're out here trying to say we've got to restore, but there's no mission out there that says that tipping is going to kill us all, then why restore? We're already working on it. Our current mission of a little bit of further warming is supposedly safe. Why is that wrong? That's what our mission is. Wouldn't we have a different mission if we were going to try and restore our climate. So, the good news is the club has adopted the mission. Bad news is they're just not very good about supporting it.
Still more hill to climb. Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
All righty. And I think with that, there's one more question and we're going to wrap it up. And that's, can you replace the species being attacked with other kinds of trees? Are there some trees that are more heat or drought tolerant? Are there other solutions, I guess, is the question that you're being asked.
We worked on that until we were blue in the face at the policy committee. And of course you can, but there's several challenges with that. One is that it takes time to create an ecology that can actively absorb carbon. And the reason is because, take forest, for example. Half of a forest stored carbon is below ground. It's not just in the roots. It gets, you guys probably know about the biologic processes whereby we store carbon in the ground that's not in roots. So you've got all these interrelationships between above ground and below ground biota. The mycorrhiza, all the little bugs in the soil.
Yeah.
You've got to consider that, and it takes time. It takes, approximately the time for the forest to start absorbing carbon again, and it doesn't really do so until the forest becomes mature. And, that's going to be human generations with most forests, if not 100 years or more. The other issue is that all of those creatures in the forest, and this is one that the club really stood on, what happens to them when you change their home? Some of them, they'll be fine. Some of the others, no. How many will not be able to adapt? What will we lose because they've lost their homes, their food sources? So the conservation, the preservation aspect with the club was really high. They do not support any changing of species. Obviously you can do that, but then we go back to the first drawback, which is how long does it actually take for this newly evolved ecology to start removing carbon from the atmosphere?
Well, thank you very much, Bruce. Thank you for your time, and thank you for bearing with us for much longer than I think you intended to. I look forward to talking to you again. And for everybody else, we do these fairly regularly. They, depending on the slideshow, they don't last as long, but you see the type of conversations that we have, that we're trying to engender, and that we want to bring people to. I think Julia or Mark has to take it away from here.
Mark, how about I talk about next week, May 6th, right?
Please.
We have the incredible honor of having Gordon Starr speak to us next Wednesday. And Gordon Starr has been in the business of transformation for 50 years. And he has the results to prove it. I was part of the Moscow Marathon that went on for a number of years. And Joan Bordeaux was part of that too, where we raised, he raised, it was basically I got to be a participant and I raised money, $1 million for the end of hunger. And that's just one of the things he has done. He has devoted his whole life to the transformation of what is possible for human beings. He is a master at making an idea's time come, and he's done it multiple times. And he has agreed to speak to us about what it takes. What are the levers and dials and the actions to actually have an idea's time come? So we will be with him next week at this time, and for that one, you do need to register. We will put a link in the chat to register. That one will have a separate link to join next week. So can we get that in the chat now, Bob?
Already in the chat.
It's there.
And then on the 20th, which is 2 weeks later, I'm going to turn this over to Carol Douglas, our communications specialist, to tell you about the special that we have put together for the 20th of May. Carol?
Yeah, we're still putting it together, but we will have two speakers to speak about some of the most promising work on massive CO2 removal via biomimicry. That would be Peter Fikowski, who most of you know on this call, and Hugo Henriksen, who has, some of you also know him. He's putting together a company with his partner to basically synthesize whale poop to recreate some of the ecological functions of whales in the ocean. And those functions include growing healthy blooms of phytoplankton, feeding the fish, and bringing down huge amounts of CO2. We also, we don't have confirmation on the other two speakers, but we will probably have two youth representatives from Y4CR, the Youth for Climate Restoration, who will be talking about their work and what it's like being in Gen Z and talking about climate.
What I love about it, Carol, is that I think it was you and we came up with it, the Summit Sum Up.
Yes.
So having been at EarthX, we wanted to bring you all of it. We wanted to bring you Earth Day because it was so exciting. We had how many speakers?
About 8 or 9.
8 or 9 speakers and a panel of youth that were extraordinary. They have committed to restoring the climate. They said, one of the panelists said, we have taken on restoring the climate. And our other speakers were just as great. So this is kind of like a press release that we're doing on May 20th, is my understanding. Sort of a press conference, right?
No, I wouldn't. It's a Founders Series meeting.
A Founders Series.
And there may be, we will invite certain selected members of the media, and they may come or they may watch it, but this is our presentation of basically the summit.
And perhaps, Marcus, you would like to talk a little bit more about EarthX and what has come out of it. The fact that they are taking on climate restoration to the degree they are, nobody is talking about climate restoration. And we showed up, I don't have it with me, but we had a very wonderful prop for speaking to the elephant in the room, which nobody is talking about.
I can take it from
oh my goodness, there's one. There's the elephant.
I was showing it to someone today. That's right.
I just delivered it to Peter because Peter is going to be doing Peter Fikowski, a webinar tonight, and he wanted that prop as well. But the thing is that it is true that nobody really is talking about the 1 trillion tons of excess CO2, legacy CO2 that we have to get out of the atmosphere. And we are it. I'm looking at the people on the screen who are the speakers of climate restoration. I'm seeing Vic Confer down there. He sent his partner Rodney. We saw a part of their movie. Vic, remind me of the name of that movie.
The Eagle and the Condor.
Okay, The Eagle and the Condor, a story of climate restoration. So the full-length film is 57 minutes. We've also created a 20-minute short version for people that have program presentations that they need a short, more direct statement. So both of those are available. I'll put my information in the chat, and we would love to see the people who are attending here tonight arrange with groups that you are meeting with. That could be social, spiritual, social clubs and organizations you're in. We're making this film, the long or the short version, available. All you need to do is write to me, and we will send you a link. And we'll also have some publicity material that should be available very soon that you can use to publicize your event. So in 1 second, I'll have my information in the chat for you. And it's been really exciting to hear through Rodney the wonderful work that you did at EarthX. I felt like I was there. He was so excited. He was calling me 3 times every day. So I was getting a play-by-play. Thank you for all you're doing, folks.
Yeah, it's very nice, very great. And Marcus, how about we hear from you about EarthX? Marcus was overall accountable and did a beautiful job of everything, the speakers, the logistics, the production of the whole thing. So Marcus?
So I was the MC for EarthX, and I did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. But the real big takeaway from EarthX was, and I think it was said earlier, this is a lot of different people who are climate aligned, but very few of them have thought about what happens after we reach net zero. And that's the reason why the Foundation for Climate Restoration exists, because when we get to net zero, there's still a whole bunch of stuff to clean up. There's tons of ecological damage. You wanna get the oil out of the oceans, but very importantly to us and to the population of the world, you want to get the carbon dioxide levels back down to what they used to be in the 1800s before we started the Industrial Revolution, because the weather has changed. And as much as we're used to it in America. There are a lot of places. My family is from Belize and Honduras, and it's rougher out there. And it's rougher in a lot of the world, and they're getting hit pretty hard. And the foundation is here to spread the word that net zero is not enough. You have to go beyond that. And we were received very, very well at EarthX, more so than last year. This is the second year I've been. The first year the foundation put their name on things, and things changed because of that. And things are changing. And I'm very happy to be a part of this and have been a part of this, because I just said on the previous meeting, I don't consider myself old yet, but I have bad knees. I don't want to run from natural disasters in my 60s and 70s. It's not going to work for me. So I have to do work now to prevent bad things from happening in the future. Mine is selfish. A lot of people are here for their kids and their grandkids, and I'm here for my son, but also me.
Is it, how are you doing, Bruce? I have some more I'd like to ask Marcus, but if you're ready, we want to roll them.
Give me excuse me, 3 or 4 more minutes. I'm manually removing everything. Excuse me.
Okay, good.
Gotcha.
All right. We love watching you work. I can't tell you how great it was to his presentation at Earth Day gave me something I had concepts about, but hadn't really seen. You saw in that first thing that we saw with all the wang, 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 wonderful music, him walking around, driving along the seashore. And he drove, how many miles did you drive, Bruce? Is it 150,000? That seems like it.
Yes.
150,000.
That's since about 2016, 2017.
Just marking the changes in the environments that he drove to and drove around. And he did the work so that we could see it. For us to actually see it and get it in our bones, this is why everybody on this call is doing what they're doing, because of the situation that's out there. And the other thing that I was so moved by is I didn't feel somehow or another, Bruce is such a positive scientist and activist. I didn't feel in despair about it. I felt like, wow, we have our work cut out for us, and we're doing it, and we're gonna do it. So, Marcus, is it okay to reveal the project you took on for the 4th of July, perhaps, a little bit, or no?
Well, I mean, you
Now
put me on the
that
spot. Yeah. So the person who runs the whole Earth X shebang, his name is Trammell S. Crow, and he reminds me of Ted Turner, he's a very important figure in my young life. Ted Turner one day decided that there needed to be a cartoon show about saving the planet, and he just called a couple guys and made it happen because he was rich. And he believes that you're supposed to do things that help people when you're rich. And Trammell is very much the same way. And he'd asked me a couple of months ago if I could put something together for the 4th of July. And I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a very, very proud American. And I said no at the time. I do really like the 250th anniversary, but I didn't have anything in mind. And what came up recently through a conversation I was having is a docuseries about things in America that have been restored from the brink of nothingness. And the bald eagle, the bison, the San Francisco Bay wetlands, Chesapeake, the Cuyahoga and Chicago rivers. And we can get that done before the 4th of July, in time for the 4th of July. And I just started sending that out to interested parties because I'm going to need a fair bit of help. But I do think it'd be a good contribution, especially because a lot of people my age and younger weren't around for all the devastation. We were there for the recovery. I mean, I missed the Berlin Wall falling. I missed apartheid. I missed there being almost no bald eagles. And as a result, when I speak to younger people, they don't know that we've recovered from things. They don't know that a bad thing has happened and we've come out stronger. They don't know that you can fix. And so I think it'd be really good for the next generation to see that and to hear stories from people that were there, because there's a lot of just anecdotes that we can collect in this anthology series for the 250th anniversary. And I'm really happy to be taking that on.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, it's terrific to have so many people here. We had nearly 50 people on this call today. You're a pretty good draw, Bruce.
Good call.
And we will be gathering again, and I'll be sending out a follow-up letter very soon.
With the recording, with the edited recording.
Yeah, it'll take a couple of days to get the recording ready and in good shape to send out.
Right. Thank you, everybody who put this together. Let's acknowledge everybody. Come off mute and say thank you. Come on off mute.
Thank you.
Come on off mute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
seeing you all.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye.